where you haven't lost any time. Thank you.
I move the Social Democrats' motion calling on government to waive the increased funding of £2.4 million due to be given to the greyhound racing industry, to incrementally refocus greyhound racing to the welfare of dogs impacted by breeding and racing associated with the industry, and work towards the gradual phasing out of state support for the Irish greyhound racing industry by 2025. In 2021, the Irish greyhound racing industry will benefit to the tune of a staggering £19.2 million from the public purse, an increase of £2.4 million on last year. Our motion presents a moral argument. Public opinion has turned on the greyhound racing industry. There has been a dramatic fall in attendance. Sponsors are withdrawing, and companies and organisations are choosing not to hold social and charity events in greyhound stadiums. The greyhound racing industry is rapidly declining. Its days are numbered, and rightly so. A 2019 RT Investigates documentary, Running for Their Lives, exposed that 16,000 greyhounds are bred every year. It found that 987 of those are killed because they fail to make qualification times or their performance has declined. Basically, the industry kills almost 6,000 dogs annually for not racing fast enough, and our government funds it. I've seen comment after comment online falsely claiming that the RT Investigates Running for Their Lives documentary cannot be trusted. Bord na Gán, now Greyhound Racing Ireland, wrote a 6-page complaint to the Broadcasting Authority about the documentary after it aired. The Broadcasting Authority investigated this complaint in full and rejected in its entirety, and found instead the programme was a comprehensive exploration of the topic in a factual manner, which was fair, objective and impartial. Setting aside the animal welfare issues for a moment, not that I believe for a second that we should, the greyhound industry is a loss-making industry that is hugely unpopular with the general public. Attendance at greyhound racing tracks fell by 55% between 2008 and 2018, and the combined loss for tracks between 2019 and 2022 is predicted to be 30 million. How long does the government believe we should keep propping it up for? Former trainers and owners have not only highlighted issues within the industry, but have expressed no confidence in its capacity to change. The ISPCA, the largest animal welfare organisation in the country, has stopped engaging with the industry because they do not believe they are serious about reform. We are only one of 8 countries that allow greyhound racing, and it is declining in many of the other 7 as well. It's banned in all 5 states in the US and is significantly contracting in Britain. The government and some opposition want it both ways. They commend the funding and the industry for its high standards and remind us that 10% of the funding goes into animal welfare, confidential phone lines, care funds and traceability. Those measures are only necessary because of the cruel practices and structural issues within the industry, and these measures don't go nearly far enough. Government often highlight the welfare measures and conditions in the Greyhound Racing Act 2019, however, it merely establishes how problematic the industry is. For example, regulations to ensure that racing greyhounds are properly registered and traceable throughout their lives, which will not be commenced until next year, are an indictment of the industry, of dogs being killed or just being unaccounted for, as seems to be the new euphemism. Attempts by opposition senators and TDs in 2019 to have clear regulations around the export and breeding practices were disregarded. So the 2 most controversial malpractices in this industry are not and will not be properly regulated. Some of the most damning information comes from the industry itself. The Irish Greyhound Board's own anti-doping and medication review, published in 2016, found long-standing and significant deficiencies in policies, processes and implementation that have been undermining the integrity and reputation of greyhound racing in Ireland. Another Irish Greyhound Board commissioned a document in 2017 stated that the industry in Ireland was not focused on the sport of greyhound racing, but on breeding, and found the industry was failing from both a commercial and a regulatory point of view. That same report found that the industry produces 10 times more dogs each year than is required to sustain the sport. And it was this report which highlighted the lack of traceability of 6,000 dogs every year, who do not race nor are exported to the UK, with anecdotal evidence that many of these non-performing greyhounds were killed. This information is from the industry's own report. State funding has facilitated this cascade and bad practices and horrific acts. The public do not want their money to support this industry anymore. The 19.2 million that the greyhound industry is set to receive in the next year will be more than 6 times what all animal welfare organisations in Ireland will receive. For some reason, the government's solution is to do this. Not only to continue funding, but to actually increase it. This is despite the public outcry following the RT documentary, which exposed unspeakable acts of cruelty in the industry. This is despite the public outcry about how the industry relies on overbreeding greyhounds that leads to killing 6,000 of them a year. And it is despite the dramatic drop in the number of people attending race meetings and sponsors publicly withdrawing their support. And finally, it is in spite of the fact that only 16% of the Irish population agree that the government should continue to fund this industry. The industry has become a financial basket case and is being kept alive by generous state subventions each year. This money could and should be spent elsewhere on much more worthy and social economic areas. We keep hearing that government funding is not public money because it is ring-fenced from the gambling levy. It absolutely is public money. Firstly, a levy is just another word for a tax, like the universal social charge is a tax. Does anyone not consider this a tax on their income? I don't think so. Secondly, the betting levy was decreased from 5% when the fund was initially introduced to 1% and has now been raised to 2%, meaning the fund has been topped up with public money from other taxes almost since it was set up. The Taxation of Betting in Ireland report is available on gov.ie website and clearly outlines this. The industry is funded by public money that needs to be spent where there is real need. We have to stand up and demand that the state funding is phased out and that the welfare of dogs is prioritised. This industry is funded by, I'm of course aware that many trainers treat their greyhounds well, but there is not a valid argument to continue pumping millions of taxpayers' money into an industry with such scandalous, overarching, appalling standards of care that is also a loss-making industry. It is impossible for people to understand why government continues to fund this and has now increased funding. We're in the middle of a pandemic and constantly hear that there isn't funding for essential services like disability support services, refuge space for victims of domestic violences, for communities that keep flooding, for businesses struggling in a pandemic, so it is beyond infuriating to see how money is being allocated. I can think of some reasons for this. There's a loud minority, a very strong lobby, and politicians have consistently fallen prey to this lobbying and find themselves defending the indefensible. Having been on the receiving end of this lobby, I can understand how it happens, but it is not an excuse. When I was on Cork County Council, a motion was tabled to support a stadium that was no longer viable. I was the only Cork County councillor to object, and it's quite incredible that such a small percentage of representatives are opposed to this when the vast majority of the population are, and it is quite literally our job to represent that population. It was quite incredible to be in exactly the same boat in the Agriculture Committee yesterday. Last week, a city councillor took to the airways to give me advice on what's best for rural Ireland. The Fine Gael councillor didn't declare, even when asked why he was so invested, that he worked in communications for the Irish Greyhound Board in 2017 and 2018. He went on to say that the Social Democrats have an animal rights agenda. I hope he didn't mean to insinuate that he or his party has an animal cruelty agenda, but propping up this industry quite literally funds animal cruelty, and that needs to be acknowledged. So why don't representatives represent the population on this issue? Partly because it's a small taste of what you're up against when you speak out about this issue. I had pylons on social media, the list goes on. Also, because many people and TDs claim that this motion is an attack on rural Ireland and that any wrongdoing in the industry is a case of a few rogue traders and that we need to give the industry time to reform. The ISPCA, like I said, the largest organisation in the country, has stopped engaging with the industry because they do not believe they're serious about reform. The industry has had decades to improve standards, and anything they've done has only been window dressing, and they keep getting more money from government. What rural Ireland needs is investment in sustainable jobs. The greyhound industry is a loss-making industry that is hugely unpopular. The whole industry defines instability. The reality is that defending it equates to defending the indefensible, and we need more public representatives to take a stand. My Social Democrat colleagues will raise the systematic issues regarding animal welfare the financial issues in the industry and other vital services which could benefit from this investment. Before other TDs contribute to this discussion, I'd like to ask each speaker to state if you have or have had any links with the greyhound racing industry. Also, it would help for clarity and integrity if we all only refer to the greyhound racing industry. Part of the argument against our motion is to put horse racing and greyhound racing together to inflate numbers. But if you need to embellish your statistics like that, perhaps you might consider the validity of your points.
Deputy Catherine Murphy.